What's up, everybody, and good morning, everyone. It's bright and early, and I'm going through it, my friends. Luckily for me, Doctor Who is here to soothe my woes, and it seems that it's going to be a pretty good episode too. Lux. Latin for light. I've heard very good things. Heard some strange things as well. Apparently this is going to be a crazy episode and potentially quite meta too. But we'll see about that in about 3 minutes, very shortly. On the bingo front, as you guys know, I've got myself a Doctor Who bingo sheet, handy dandy bingo sheet, and I'm actually gonna hold off until after watching this episode before knocking off what I got. I'll keep you guys updated, don't worry. And similarly, on that same vibe, if you want to help support the channel, you guys know you like, you subscribe, but if you want to do even more, I'm gonna be posting my full raw live reaction to this latest episode, just as I did last week. And starting this season, I'm also uploading the edited highlights of my reactions, 8 to 10 minutes long, and I'm gonna start posting these for my old reactions as well, so Wobbly Under the Giggle, all of season 1, but also to everyone who simply watches the videos. That is more than enough, to be honest, and all I can really say is thank you so very much. And then on that same wavelength, guys, I have to be honest, this week, last week, and this next week upcoming, it's been pretty rough. Pretty rough. Not in Doctor Who land. Doctor Who land is great. I love Doctor Who, you guys know. It's always there to carry me through the tough times, the long winter. But in real world land, yeah. So just bring it in, people. You know what? Group hug. Every single one. Yeah, you too, buddy. Come on, all of you, bring it in. Every single week where the new videos come out, I just think I am so lucky to have the best community in the whole world cheering me on, supporting me. They got my back. And just know as well, I got your back too. I'm never gonna give you up, never gonna let you down. So let's just hug it out. Group hug, everybody. And let's watch the new Doctor Who. Hopefully it's good. Boom! And we're back. It is now 9 in the morning and I have just watched the episode, and I don't know if it's maybe something I ate or drank beforehand, but I don't know, I've got a weird feeling after that one. So what are my initial feelings, thoughts and feelings? Good, bad? I thought it was very good, and there were some bits of it that I thought were very bad. I think we can all tell the bits that I thought were bad. So there's been a theory that's been going around since pretty much the Devil's Cord that Doctor Who is a TV show in universe. It actually might have been going around before that, and I don't think it's necessarily, you know, a bad idea. You can have some drama with that. I've thought of my own ideas where that could also be the case, you know, meta stuff. You saw my bingo sheet that I put meta stuff in, but I actually thought that they were gonna play this gambit, if at all, they would play it in the finale, because I mean, once you've done that, you can't really go back. But no, they play it here, and I hated it. I hated the bit. I didn't find it funny. I found it strange and weird, and I hated the set that they were on with all the DVDs in the background. I mean, shirts maybe, yeah, but having all the DVDs and having all of that stuff, and I didn't like the actors who they got to play the fans. They seemed like, no offense to the people who are on the Rest in Peace Doctor Who podcast, but they just don't seem like convincing fans. It's weird. It's because it's like the fan base Doctor Who wish it had against the fan base Doctor Who actually has. Yeah, and it just wasn't funny. And the Blink gag, I mean, I suppose I find it funny because when people say their favorite episode is Blink, I think, oh god. But I don't want to be thinking, oh god, while watching an episode, it's too meta, it's not earnest enough. It isn't, how do I say this? Doctor Who works best when you don't actually know all of the ins and outs and how it works, and this is meant to be a season 2, episode 2, and so all of these new fans, they're not going to understand anything that's going on here, and it almost breaks in on itself because it's refusing to be sincere. And I don't really like fourth wall breaks. I mean, of course, with tact, you can pull them off well. Doctor Who did one in the Devil's Cord. I thought that was diegetic. Earlier in this episode with the cut, but that is just felt it was a step too far, and I didn't find it funny. I really don't like the gag. Obviously, it doesn't mean much, unless in the finale it does mean something. It's like they want to have their cake and eat it too, and I just think that part of the episode really doesn't do well. They also said, I heard about this because it leaked leaked online. I don't think it did. I mean, or at least if it did, I didn't see it. But we all kind of guessed that that's the way it was going. I mean, unless all of the predictions last year were because of leaks, which I don't think they were. I think we were mostly saying that because they were hinting at it with repeated fourth wall references. So I suppose you can't say it's not set up, but the execution and handling of it, well, I did not enjoy that part of the episode. Some people will. Some people will. Some people are going to find it very funny. Some people are going to find it very accurate. Some people are going to find what he said about the fan base implicitly, or he implied about the fan base through what he showed, what he didn't show. I just find it crazy that we have Rip Doctor Who in the actual show when it's probably going to be the last season. I mean, that's just God. It is like the greatest show in the galaxy. That episode also has a fan. It just seems so unself-aware when it's really trying to be self-aware, and I think it's just a major miss. I think it should have been redone. I think something else should have happened. I could tell as soon as they were looking at the camera, and it's like, how can we get out of here? Oh, we'll get out through here. And it also doesn't help that it's very reminiscent of MCU She-Hulk, which I've talked about this before. She-Hulk is a great character, and I really like Sensational She-Hulk, which is what that TV show was based on. Sensational She-Hulk, if you don't know, had a bunch of fourth wall references in it, but everything about Sensational She-Hulk is different to the MCU She-Hulk. MCU She-Hulk, when people say it's comic accurate, they're talking out of their butt, because it's not accurate to anything, and it's completely made up. The characterization's all over the place. The characterization for Hulk all over the place. The show is buttfuck ugly. It's completely nonsensical, and of course, having fourth wall breaks in a shared universe, it impacts all of that stuff. And I know technically comics are a shared universe, but they're not really, because each comic run is separate. And if you don't know, spoiler alert for MCU She-Hulk, they write themselves into a hole, and usually I don't like saying that, but that's actually their words here, because MCU She-Hulk realizes that the ending is nonsensical because the storyline has been boring and uncompelling and just plain uninteresting, and so she actually leaves the show and talks to the creators, basically says, my show sucks, why did you do that? And then Kevin Feige bot, because in MCU canon, MCU movies are mass produced by a robot, again kind of lacking that self-awareness, or maybe being too self-aware, and there's a bunch of jokes like, oh, She-Hulk, you're doing too much to the budget, so de-transform, and then all of the writers' room and blah de blah blah. And I don't know, it just felt so cynical and unself-aware and poorly thought out, and this kind of feels the same. It just went too far, and I think it's a shame. And the gag of, oh, this leaked online months ago, I can imagine Rusty Davies really laughing while writing it, and that's fine, you know, have fun while writing it, but in the meeting process after, because they have meetings about every single second of what's on this show, I feel like, I don't know, someone should have pushed back. Someone should have said, you know what, I don't think this bit works. You know what, I don't think this bit is sincere. You know what, sometimes there's too much information. Sometimes you can be too self-aware. Sometimes you don't actually want this leaking into the show, especially in such a turbulent time. I mean, this series, God, hell behind the scenes, hell in the scenes. It's in its most fragile state since the late 80s. And I don't know if this is when you play this episode. I just can't get over the Rip Doctor Who thing, and I really didn't like the actors. No offense, guys, I'm sure you're great people, but I don't know, you couldn't have got some actual Doctor Who fans. I mean, it's just so unconvincing, and that type of reveal only works if it's convincing and you stick to it, and the cameras have to be different. I suppose it's not, I mean, it is a bad idea. But I suppose it could not be a bad idea if they do it right. But what about the rest of the episode? What about Lux? So taking aside those two scenes, what did I think of the episode Lux? I thought it was good. I thought it was a good episode. Was it as good as the reviews? Hell nah. And I think that those reviews coming out, obviously, that's not Doctor Who's fault. But those reviews, they set the standards too high and I was a bit let down. It just is what it is. The setting, cinematography, and performances were all impeccable. The matte paintings were just stunning, the location work stunning, and the special effects in this episode are probably the best that they've ever been on Doctor Who. They weren't seamless because you can obviously tell, but at the same time a lot of the stuff that was meant to be seamless was seamless, so it's got the best of both worlds when it comes to good special effects in quotation marks. Visual spectacle whilst also having completely unnoticeable, unless you're really paying attention, elements of CGI. They should win an award for this episode when it comes to that front. A few extra comments I want to add as well. The music. The music was astounding this episode. Quite a few familiar tracks, namely A Sad Lonely Man in a Box, which I was certain would lead into I Am the Doctor, and that is how the Doctor would win the day in a kind of meta track way where it's like, this is my theme song, bitches. Now you got no chance. But no, that didn't end up happening, and so basically it felt like I was blue ballsed. Don't leave me on that. You know you have to play it. You know you have to play it. What the fuck? Kill me. This episode fucking sucks, bro. You give me all that build up and then you don't even play I Am the Doctor? That said, the music was very, very good. Lot of familiar motifs, but Murray Gold once again astounds. The cinematography, as I mentioned earlier, again, it astounds. There were several moments, especially early on, where I was like, wow, that looks good. What a great shot. I didn't see who directed this episode. I should have been paying attention, but you did an incredible job. Great job. Be proud of yourself. Story-wise, it is really quite basic. A lot of the stories kind of padding just to have cool moments, and that is fine. I'm perfectly fine with that story structure, especially because I enjoyed most of the moments. The pacing was a lot slower than last week's, in a good way, I think. Gave some time to breathe. Those opening sequences especially were really the heart and soul of the episode. I love the pre-title sequence. I love the sequence of the Doctor and Belinda in the TARDIS. And of course, the initial landing scenes with the Vindicator, the kind of classic Doctor Who, oh, we're going to have to land a couple more times to fully calibrate, blah-de-blah, whatever. Basically just an excuse to have a fun season, which I enjoy. And then the scenes in the diner, they do some clever stuff to make you think that they're opposite each other, even though they're totally different places. And of course, Mr. Ring-a-Ding's initial introduction is brilliant. Mr. Ring-a-Ding is the shining star of this episode. Completely perfect, pitch perfect, done exactly right. When he goes three-dimensional at the end, the effect is uncanny and brilliant. I love Belinda saying, what are you? You got a pig snout, but you're blue. It's one of those things where if you look at those old cartoons, it's like, what the fuck? What are you? They are uncanny, and when it becomes real, it gets really uncanny, and then it returns, and then it comes up to the stars, and I think that is brilliant. I did think that was a brilliant ending, brilliant way to do it. I like the bit at the end where they talk, he's technically a real god now. And pretty much I enjoyed everything aside from those two scenes, but that's the stuff that's going to stick in my mind, because I don't think they realize how big that is and how open it leaves them to ridicule. Yeah, and I love Doctor Who. I always wish the best for it. I don't want it to be ridiculed, and I don't know. It just left me feeling weird. And maybe that's because, as I mentioned earlier, I'm having a bit of a weird time anyway. This stuff happens, you know what I mean? Subjective opinions come in and they can, not opinions, subjective experiences can come in and affect your viewing experience. I mean, it's just been a bit of a rough time, but I don't know. I don't know if that's affecting it. Maybe by next week, maybe in the community reaction, don't forget to comment below, people. Maybe I'll feel better, but it's just one of those moments where you watch it and you think, seems tired. That's what it seems. It seems tired. It's a card you play when you don't have any cards left. And I don't think the episode needed it. I think there could have been extended sequences in a kind of WandaVision-esque way, because I don't really find it interesting to think about. Maybe that's because I've already thought about it on a perspective. And I do think there's drama that could be there of like, Doctor, your whole life is a lie. It's a TV show. But they instantly flip it because they're kind of too scared to commit to it. And it just leaves me feeling a bit sad and deflated, which is a shame because the rest of the episode is really good. I don't want to say it's stellar, because even before that moment, it isn't quite perfect. I don't know, do I feel called out? Is that it? Is it awkward to talk about Doctor Who in a kind of critical light after they pointed and laughed at fans? And I know people are going to say, oh, but you know, they were obviously doing it in a tongue-in-cheek way. Yeah, I get it. But at the same time, the relationship between fan and show and creator, it shouldn't be that close, in that the fans shouldn't be in the actual show saying their criticisms of the show in the actual show, because what if you've never interacted with fandom before and then you found out about that? Well, now suddenly you're introduced to a really cynical way of looking at things. I mean, fandom's great, but at the same time, fandom can fucking suck. Holy fucking shit. The amount of times in fandom where I've said my opinion, people have said, no, what the fuck? How could you think that? And it's like, if I wasn't here, I'd just enjoy this episode in peace. And if I wasn't here, I wouldn't hear all these bullshit, dumbass fucking criticism moans about the episode. And I know that that's kind of technically what I'm doing, but sometimes being too self-aware can just make you miserable. It's a kind of anxiety thing in that way. Now I'm getting really meta, but being too self-aware comes from anxiety. When you're anxious, you wonder, what do I look like? What do I sound like? You focus on all these little details where in reality, you can't really control all of that, nor should you try to. So yes, being self-aware is good, but you shouldn't kind of make it your whole thing because it comes from anxiety. That's where it comes from, at least in my opinion, at least in my experience, at least from me watching other people. This episode is very similar to The Idiot's Lantern, both in terms of style, because they're both set in the 1950s, and also in message. What The Wire and what Mr. Ringerding represent are kind of similar. They're both commentaries on the audience and on television and on the BBC in a way. And I feel these commentaries, these themes, they best work when you don't directly confront them, when you don't actually look or talk into the camera. I just find it a bit distracting and disorienting. Sometimes just because you can do something doesn't mean you should do something, and it really takes away from the rest of the episode. But I won't let it dominate the discussion. Whoops, spoiler alert, I already have. The costuming here is brilliant. I want to give a shout out to the actor who plays Reginald Pye as well. He does a great job. There was quite a brilliant sequence, which again, I mentioned WandaVision because I mentioned it in my reaction, where there's the mixing black and white with color, and then the black and white fades into color when he's dancing with his girlfriend. And I thought that was really well done. As I mentioned, every animation with Mr. Ringerding, really quite great. And what else? Oh yeah, this struck me at the start of the episode. The kind of coy playing with the ideas around race and segregation and racism in 1950s Miami. They have their cake and eat it too. Now I mentioned this in the reaction. Is this the correct way of doing it? Maybe. It's almost too tricky to tell. There isn't necessarily a right way of doing it. I don't think that's necessarily a criticism. I just think it's an important thing to note. I was not as keen on this episode as I expected to be, if that makes sense. Going in, I thought, well, everyone's saying this one is great. It's got Mr. Ringerding, which I thought was great. But at the same time, I wasn't like going crazy over it. And then those reviews came out and it was like, this is amazing. This is going to blow your mind. And I thought, oh, well, maybe it will. And then I watched it and it didn't. So I blame Doctor Who for hyping up its own episode. Of course not. Maybe I'm just having a rough time. Is it me? Is it me, guys? Leave in the comments below, is it me? And leave in the comments below all of your thoughts. What did you think of the episode? How did you feel? I wish that they didn't make these at 8 in the morning. I know I go on about it a lot, but why can't we just release it at 6:30? I understand scheduling, blah, blah, blah. Around this series has been rough. I've heard things that the Interstellar Song Contest isn't even going to air on BBC One, which I don't think is true. I'm sure it will. But if Doctor Who is intent on being meta at the time where I want it to be meta the least, what can I say? Fun episode, I guess. A lot of people are going to enjoy it. I'm sure a lot of people are going to enjoy it more than me. I would probably give this one a fun rating of 6.5 out of 10, which is actually really good considering I've ragged on it kind of this whole review. But I can't undersell how good the animation on Mr. Ringerding was, how good the cinematography is. So many great shots, especially towards the beginning. Brilliant sets, really well done. Great atmosphere created, and the bond between the 15th Doctor and Belinda gets stronger with each week, and we're going to have a great episode next week. The Well is one which I am much more looking forward to. That one looks a lot more up my street, and I think that's for me where the season is really going to begin. Not that this episode was bad, and not that the episode before was bad. The Robot Revolution was great, but that one looks like a real knock out the park moment. Brilliant next time trailer too. Yeah, but I suppose that's all I've really got. Just a little heads up for next week. I mentioned this before, I've got a bunch of real life stuff. Videos might be a little bit delayed. Next week's review might be coming out a few hours later than it usually would. Hopefully it's still on the same day. It will definitely still be on the same day. But I won't be able to watch that one at 8 o'clock because I got shit to do, bro. Starting at 8 o'clock sucks because either you've got to clear your schedule if you're doing something early on, which sucks, or you've got to wake up early, which also sucks. But at least it's not as bad as midnight? Question mark? I feel like I'd prefer this episode if it was at midnight. Guys, I'm just in a bit of a rough spot. If you're in a bit of a rough spot as well, we're in this together. If you're having a great time, I'm happy you're having a great time. And I hope you enjoyed the video and I hope you enjoyed the episode as well. I'll talk about it more in a little bit. Don't forget to leave a like. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to comment below. And to the channel members, the reaction and reaction highlights should be going up shortly. So all's well that ends well. And a special thanks to everyone who keeps the show a-going. Channel members and members of the Patreon, I love you all. Voxcom, The Instinct, Kai Keller, Renegade Time Lord 97, Manny, Eric, Ren, Watermelon Volcano, Poop Criminal, Diego, Theta, Dark Tranquil, Chicky, No More Flippin', Six Doctor Fan 84, Comfy Glitch X, Harry, Sanyu, Amara God, Noah T, Tamara, Dobcool, Casual Log, E West, Christian Rothfuss, Unreal Dinnerbone, Aiden Davies, Reef Edwards, Space, Amber Knight, Poison Cupcake, KC, Snarly, Connor Bell, Tom, Zach, Ertle the Turtle, Kustretch, Kylo Wade, Sophie in the Sky, Kai, Andrew Locke, Wasabi, Jessica, Mel, Hush, Toby One Kenobi, Bill Fleming, Owen, Just Him, and Teddy Bite. To all of you, now and forever, thank you. And with all that said, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I will see you in the next one. Bye bye.